Aaron Falk goes back home to his drought-stricken town to attend a tragic funeral. However, his return reopens the door to the unsolved death of a teenage girl from his past. Welcome to another feature presentation of Midnight Double Feature, and on this episode we'll be covering 2020's The Dry, directed by Robert Connelly.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Midnight Double Feature. Thank you so much for joining us here on this episode as we covered The Dry, a very little known Australian film that I kind of picked just to kind of bring some awareness to it, and one that I think about a little bit. Just we'll get into it. But with me is my main man Colin. What's happening, Colin?
Hey, what's going on, buddy? How you doing?
I'm good, man. We're fresh off recording our bonus episode on the exorcism of Emily Rose, which we talked about. Also, the real life case of Annalise McKell. If you want to go and check that one out, it's on the bonus feed right now. Head to patreon.com/midnight double feature. It was so funny, dude. When I was saving that file just now, we're up to 69 bonus episodes.
Nice.
Patreon.com/midnight double feature. If you do want to support the show, it's $5 a month. You get 69 bonus episodes plus anything else that we release in the future. So just $5 a month. Please support the show. We do try our best here. We've got no sponsorship, no advertising or anything like that. $5 a month. We are completely funded by you guys. So thank you so much in advance. Thank you so much to our current bonus members. Go check it out. It's a fun time. We're also on our socials, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. All of the information can be found in our show notes. And please rate and review us on iTunes. If you like what you're hearing, we haven't had a review in a while, by the way. I don't know when the last time we had a review ourselves.
Yeah.
But if you do like what you're hearing, please rate and review us on iTunes. It would go so far because it gets our name out there a little bit, and it helps us out with the algorithms because we're in an algorithm-run world. So that would be awesome. But let's get to this. Let's get to The Dry. I am almost 100% sure you'd never heard of this movie before.
Nope.
So, yep, cool, awesome. Well, tell me about it. Talk to me about it. What'd you think?
I liked it. I liked it a lot. It definitely had me invested as to what is going on. Any kind of murder that goes unsolved for decades or whatever, or there's like a small town with secrets and murder and it goes on for years. Those kind of stories always really...
You're describing It right now.
Oh yeah, 100. Yeah, It for sure. Among many others. But there's a lot of movies like that I immediately like. I think if you like this movie, you would also like another movie called Super Dark Times. It's a lot darker than this, and it's different. It's very different, but it's still it's the first movie that this made me think of. But the thing I liked about this movie was the kind of the angles that it plays of mystery, and you don't really know if Eric Bana really killed this young girl or not. It's really I don't know. It really keeps you on the edge of your seat until the very last scene, and you're like, oh my God, the onion is just still unfolding here. And I think they did a great job. The kind of allegory between the land drying up and the youth being killed is, it's kind of a bit of the Offspring song, the kids aren't all right. That kind of like the youth is being failed in a way, and therefore, also the land, there's just not that reinvigoration. I thought there was a lot of cool like symbolism set in the backdrop of the kind of weather and geography of Australia and Bruce Spence. So I was really happy about that.
The gyro captain
himself. But I enjoyed it. It was, a little long. I think they could have condensed a few parts down, maybe edited a few things. But I think the reason why it works is because they're trying to set the scene for this town. And I didn't really like, I never really got the feeling of like, oh my god, these four friends were the best of friends and blah blah blah. And it's like, no, they hung out for probably a summer or two and then blah blah blah. But I really enjoyed it. I think everybody is very well cast. I think it's edited extremely well. A lot of the scenes that they're putting together, especially the climax of the movie, is edited extremely well. And they really make you want to know like what the fuck is going on, man. Because there's really no evidence up until a certain point, and then all of a sudden it gets peeled and the whole thing just starts rolling and you're like, oh man, okay, now we're on it. Like when Eric Bana goes to Deputy Fife, or whatever the fuck his name is, and he walks up there and he goes, hey, come on, let's go. And they're like, yeah. And he runs out the door and kisses his wife. It's like, all right, the doom doo doo doom doo doo doom doo doo doom doo doo doom. Now we're on the case.
He says she wasn't writing the name Grant. Mm-hmm. She was writing the funding.
I definitely enjoyed this. I think that the younger actors do a great job. I think the casting of younger to older actors sometimes doesn't work, but they did a really good job. Like young Eric Bana, is a little, but everybody else is like pretty much spot on. And I think the decision to not show too much of Ellie is also something that helps keep this kind of, it keeps her a bit of a mystery. And, the movie only tells us as much information as we absolutely need to know about her moment to moment. So I think it's paced really well. I think it's got a great cast. I think it could be a little bit shorter, but I'm not complaining about the runtime. I was, other than the fact that I procrastinated and didn't watch this until today, I was not really worried about the runtime. It was, I had to buy this. It was not available to rent or stream here, but I'm not mad about that at all. It's $13 well spent as far as I'm concerned, and I would definitely recommend it to people for sure.
Yeah, awesome. I quite like this movie as well. I watched this in the theater. So a little bit about me. I don't hold Australian films in that high regard. I'm pretty harsh on Australian films, especially recent Australian films. Like obviously the Mad Max movies they're kind of cut from a different cloth, right? Like they're something else, right? Those movies, but movies like this, I'm just like, oh god, here we go, another Aussie movie. Like it's just gonna be melodramatic, whatever. It's just gonna be poorly made. But this kind of blew me away when I watched the movies. I don't know what really kind of dragged me into the movies to go check this out, but I had a great time with this. I didn't know where it was going. It's based on a book of the same name from 2016 by Jane Harper.
It 100% felt like a novel. 100%.
Yeah. This character, Aaron Falk. There's 3 books on him. And there's another one called Force of Nature, and that they did make a movie about that. That's coming out a bit later in August.
Nice. With Eric Bana?
Starring Eric Bana, directed by Robert Connelly as well. I guess there's a teaser trailer out for it, and it looks like it's anthological, so it's not really doesn't really have anything to do with this story, but it is Aaron Falk.
No, that's cool. It would be kind of weird if they were just like, we're continuing the story. It's like, what? Like, everything's done.
Everything's done. Yeah, exactly. But, but yeah, I thought this was great, man. Like, I thought it was a very compelling mystery. I thought the acting was above average. I mean, I'm talking away from Eric Bana because he's basically an American right now. So, but I'm talking about everyone else, man. Like, everyone else in this cast is kind of killing it, man. Like, I mean, the guy that plays Grant, when they're in that interrogation scene, and he's just like, "You're not going to pin this on me," and I'm just like, "Fuck, man!" Like, this guy's going for it. Also, the other person I want to talk about is the woman that plays Gretchen. Her name is Genevieve O'Reilly. She is currently in the limelight right now because she was in Andor, the Star Wars TV show.
Cool.
She played Mon Mothma, and she was also in Rogue One. as Mon Mothma.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, she was like, I fucking hated what they did with Princess Leia in that, but what they did with
right.
Grand Moff Tarkin and then Mon Mothma, I was like, oh, cool, 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 cool. Yeah, they were
Yeah,
really good.
yeah. No, she was awesome, and she's especially awesome in Andor, dude. Like she kills it
I'm glad
in
to hear
that
that.
show.
I need to check it out.
Yeah, you absolutely should. The other guy that I really want to point out is John Polson, who plays Principal Whitlam. He's the guy who's responsible for the
Oh,
murders.
yeah.
He I haven't seen him in anything, but he started a pretty big film festival here called Tropfest. Tropfest is kind of like a student film festival, but it's headed by some pretty big judges almost every year. So um, I've been to one, and George Miller was the judge, and he was like right there,
Cool.
and Tony Collette as well, and yeah,
Cool.
yeah. So good for John Paulson, man. Like
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
especially because I know that all the Australian movies just kind of get buried under Marvel, Fast and the Furious, like blah
yeah,
blah
yeah,
blah, and
yeah,
yeah, that's really cool of him.
yeah. Our industry, um, while I am very happy that Marvel moved their operations here and stuff like that, movies like this get buried, pretty easily, right? I
Mhm.
mean, like, no one really cares about these movies. Although this is among the top 10 highest grossing films in Australia, which is pretty cool.
Nice. Yeah, that is really, especially for what it's like. Probably shot this for 15 million or something.
Yeah, something like that. But I also really like the way this movie integrates regional Australia into it as well. So, like, even just like the mannerisms, the small town aspects of it. So, like, leaving your doors unlocked and
Hmm.
having the one pub where everyone congregates and stuff like that. And
Right.
I thought the regional Australia in this was really awesome. Like even just him kind of like going up to the barkeep and being like, yeah, I'll take a beer, and then he's like, we have mid or full strength, and we're out of mid, and he's like, he starts filling it up already.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, just the little details like that I thought was really good. Yeah, I like the idea that he starts off in Melbourne as a big city sort of like AFP officer, and he's kind of like called out to his childhood town, and like there is this whole aspect of like, what the fuck did this guy do? Because everyone's looking at him like
Yeah.
one, like
Yeah. Everybody's looking at him like he's cross-eyed. Like, what the fuck is going on?
right, exactly. But then like also clearing his friend's name, like that's a whole nother thing as well. And then when we're in the opening sort of funeral scene here, it's difficult being the parents because not only do you need to acknowledge the deaths of these the child and the wife, you also want to say that your son was not the person everyone thinks he is. Like
Hmm.
it's a mixture of emotions. But yeah, man, I really enjoyed this movie. I had a great time with it. This was my fourth time seeing this movie. Um, yeah, I thought this was solid, and I picked it because I kind of want to get it out there a little bit. Like, I kind of I
Sure.
want to get some eyes on it a little bit because I think small stories like this are important, but like I love that it is deeply rooted in Australia. Like, it
Right.
is it is wholeheartedly an Australian story.
I finished watching this, and one of my thoughts was like, it deserves your time. Like it definitely does. It doesn't waste your time. It's not melodramatic or stupid. Like there's very little. If I had to trim anything around this movie, there's very little I would trim. Like everybody is suspect. Nobody is cleared. Like until the very end. And there's just so many. I don't know. The only I think right off the bat, there is a lot of information that you've got to keep. Okay, that's Luke, that's Gretchen, blah blah blah
Sure,
blah blah.
yeah.
Like, there's a lot of names, but other than that, that's really not the end of the world. But yeah, I think this is a great pick.
Awesome, man. One other person I want to talk about obviously is Eric Banner.
Hmm.
I thought he's awesome in this, man. Like, I mean, anytime he gets to use his native accent, I love it. Like, I mean, obviously, you've got that very hilarious moment in that Adam Sandler movie, The Funny People. I'm not sure if you've seen it, but
I have not.
okay, all right, it's an okay movie, but Banner's hilarious in it. But yeah, he just seems very he's playing him very minimalistic. You know, like he's not an over the top guy. Like you kind of like have characters that sort of like bounce off him. But I like his mannerisms in this movie. Like, you know, he's not doing anything that's insanely crazy, but he's a quiet guy. He wants to fly in under the radar in this town, at this town that he was forced to leave in as a kid. And when he gets to the reflective moments, like he seems very conflicted sometimes, and you know, I don't know, like even just the way, like he seems very shy at parts, the way he interacts with people, and yeah, I don't know, I like his performance in this.
Yeah, I liked him as a Hulk. You know, I feel like he got a bad rap for that, but I honestly really enjoyed him.
I'm not sure if you can hear in the background, and this is going to be recorded anyway, but who cares? I'll leave this in. Whenever there's a siren, we are surrounded by, so on both sides of the house, there's people with dogs. I'm not sure if you can hear them, but they are howling right
Yeah, a
now.
little bit in the background.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
dude,
they'll
I
stop
live
in a
I
sec.
live in the South. You don't have to tell me. Like,
But yeah, essentially, Aaron. So we'll get into this, right? Unless you had any other preamble.
no, not really. I do kind of. The only question that I really want to ask you is like, you know, jumping super far ahead, but this whole movie, you know, we eventually figure out that Eric Bana did not kill Ellie. But who do you think he thinks actually killed her? Like, because at the end of the movie, he doesn't know. He figures that out along with the audience. Do you think that he thinks it's uh,
Luke.
Luke, or maybe she actually did just kill herself?
That's interesting, actually, because he
And
does start to doubt. He does start to doubt and start to sort of like waver and, you know, think that maybe it was Luke that killed her.
right,
Right? Because, like, you know, shooting rabbits, you know, was the excuse. And because I watched this with Steph last night, and, you know, that flashback of Luke coming through the window and being like, you need to tell them that this is where,
yes,
like, she was like, oh my God, he did it.
it's
Like, you know,
sus. It's sus as fuck,
he
man.
he actually did it. But like me, you know, watching this for my fourth go around, I even caught this on my second go around. But like, just the early mention of, you know, oh, Ellie had issues at home. Like, you know, I'm just like,
Hmm.
oh, okay. Like, you know, there's something here. There's more here. But like, as to what Aaron believes, I think that he thinks that Luke killed her.
Yeah, well, and there's that issue with him kind of like play drowning her earlier on, and you're like, oh
Sure. I mean,
man,
like, that's the first memory that comes up. Like, that's the first thing he thinks about. He's thinking about this at the funeral, basically.
yeah, right. But no, yeah, I'm ready to jump into it if you are.
Yeah, cool. No, that was a great question. But basically, yeah, we open up here in Melbourne with AFP officer Aaron Falk. And he's kind of like reacting to this letter that he's received from Bruce Spencer's character, who is Luke's father. And what does it say? He says,
It's basically that you lied, Luke lied, come to the funeral, I think.
right, yeah. Again, I didn't take note for this movie, so I was pretty lazy with this.
I mean, you got to give it to
um,
Luke. He's a real G, man. You know, Ollie, literally at the end, that he ended up being like the best character. Like he really was just looking out for his buddy.
right, yeah, he's got his boys back. This movie starts off very dreary, by the way. Like, you know, there's these drone shots of like just the cracked, you know, Australian like
Hmm.
plains, and everything's dry, and we get this like crying from like obviously the baby that was left alive, and just the shots of Karen lying on her like in front of a door, and then like, you know, we got blood on the walls, and it's like, what the fuck happened here, man? Like,
Yeah, it's a bit no
you know,
country, you know.
very No Country. That's what it reminded me of. Yeah, absolutely. But like, you know, as Aaron's driving to the funeral, like we get some little bit of exposition, but not really exposition because it's really something that happens in rural Australia and sometimes creeps its way over to Australia, like suburban Australia, is the lack of rain.
Hmm.
This is Kilwarra, New South Wales, and Kilwarra. This is, while there is a Kilwarra in Victoria, this is fictional. This is not a real town.
Oh,
They
okay.
filmed this. They filmed this in a town called. I don't have it with me at the moment. Again, God damn it. Let me see. Yeah, they filmed this in a town called something.
Killamaro.
Oh yeah. They shot the movie in Mallee, Wimmera. So
Hmm.
it's still in Victoria, which is the state that is south of us, towards the bottom of Australia. But yeah, very very dry land, very farm heavy, very industry heavy like that. No rain, bushfires up the ass. Like it is. It's a terrible place to set up shop if you want to raise a family, but they do important work for the
Yeah.
country.
Yeah.
You know?
It's definitely it's the Dust Bowl, you know.
Definitely. But yeah, so this is the funeral. Aaron's arriving. We re-meet Gretchen, obviously played by Genevieve O'Reilly. They hug, like there's a whole like thing, and like there's some, you can see there's some like there's some chemistry there, but there's also some static.
Hmm.
Like you kind of like get some like, oh, what the fuck's happening here? And it's so sad when like Barb, who is Luke's mother, is giving like this sort of like speech, like we urge you to remember Luke as he was before. And then
Yeah.
Grant pipes up, and you get a shot of Grant early on, like he's kind of like unsettled, like he's kind of rocking back and forth on his feet, and Grant's just like, yeah, like, and then he went home and butchered his family, and it's just like, holy
Jesus.
shit, at the
Yikes.
funeral, dude. At the
Oof.
funeral. Oh man. This guy that plays Grant though, now I I'm about to give a recommendation, and you need to check this show out. It's called Mr. In Between. Um, it's an Australian show. It ran for 3 seasons. I
Oh, I
think
know
it
what
was
you're talking about. Shaved head guy.
Shaved Head Guy. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was picked up by FX. So I guess it effectively became an FX show. But it's done now. They're not making any more of it. But it's a fantastic show, Australian show, just about a hitman, like an Australian hitman.
Yeah, I've seen. I get weird clips from it on my algorithm here every
Yeah,
now and then, and I'm like, oh, that looks interesting.
dude, honestly, huge recommend. 3 seasons, half an hour episodes, very quick. There's no like overarching story or anything like that. They can be watched sort of like out of order, out of sequence, or something like that. But
Hmm.
huge recommend, man. Like this guy's in that show, the guy that plays Grant. I can't recommend it enough. I might actually rewatch it now that we're talking about it. But yeah, great show. But yeah, like Gretchen's talking to Aaron, and she's like, "Did Luke say anything to you?" And they're trying to figure out whether Luke was capable of this. They're trying to figure out whether their friend was. It's tough, man, because like you got to remember back
Hmm.
to the Ellie moment,
Right, right.
and then yeah,
I'll be honest. Just now, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry to interrupt you, but
no, go ahead.
I'm sitting here in my house by myself, right? And so I'm sitting here in my house, and I swear to God, I'm by myself, and I think I start hearing people talking. And I like take my headphones out and I stop and I hear it again and I look over and my dog's snoring in the floor. And I was like, oh, Jesus Christ, dude. Like, oh, we came off the fucking, the Emily Rose, Annalise Michelle shit. And it is creepy, man.
Sure.
But it's like being in here by myself and I was like, what the fuck is that noise? I'm sorry. I know I probably looked a little bit like startled in the video.
Well, no, I'm sure, dude. If there were people talking, I'm sure your dog would respond pretty much immediately.
Yeah,
like,
that's true. I just thought y'all might get a kick out of that. I was like, murder, murder, murder. Like I
so
just kind of
um, I okay. It's very sad, but I love like when Aaron goes back to the river and he's there on present day, and it's just completely hollowed out. Like there's no
Yeah.
water left. It's just yeah.
Yeah,
And
that
he
sucks. You can't go back home, you know.
definitely, and he's reminiscent, right? Like he thinks about back in the day when when he when they find Ellie's body and they're taking out of the water, and I guess context as well, because you get a shot of Mal, who is Ellie's father, just crying on the bank. He's just
Hmm.
absolutely in tears, um, which is you know obviously a bit of a misdirect.
Right. Yeah. A lot of really good misdirects in this. A lot of, is it him? Is it her? Is it the chef? Is it the chef in the library with a candlestick? It's like there's a lot of, I think
It's a
they
very classic mystery.
it is. It is. I haven't seen a lot of Australian
Me
agricultural
neither.
mystery. You know what I mean? Like, and this did, like, because as I am getting older, this did hit me a little bit more. Like, our co-host Danny and I grew up together in the same town, and we had this wooden castle that we would all go play on every weekend. Even as high schoolers, we'd go in there at midnight and play hide and seek with like 12 kids, and they tore it down, and it's just a field now. And it does kind of like, oh man, that hurts. Like, I know the feeling when he's looking at this ditch now, basically, for lack of a better term. It's definitely gut wrenching.
Hmm. Yeah, it's like it's tough when you look at like um locations, and you're just like just over time, like just how things just change like that. Yeah, it's heartbreaking. Like this part here, when he's kind of like standing in like sort of like the Dust Bowl thing that you basically just used to be a river. I'm just like, damn, man, like
Yeah.
that's insane. Um, but yeah, he sits down with Jerry and Barb, and Barb says, obviously Luke didn't do it. We know Luke. We know our Luke. He wouldn't have done that to that beautiful family. And they kind of ask Aaron to stick around for a bit, have a look at the books, have a look at the financials,
Hmm.
because maybe it was something. Maybe it was financially motivated. Maybe this wasn't a murder suicide. Maybe there's someone here with something to gain, right? And Luke says that, look, man, I'm not here on a professional AFP capacity. I'm here in my own personal capacity. This was a friend of mine, whatever. But
Right.
look at the books, says Bruce Spence, right? Bob's got a
Yeah.
theory.
Personal favor. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Well, and to be fair, I think he almost kind of blackmails him. He's like, "Hey, I know I know you guys fucking lied. Like, now my son's dead. Why don't we get to the bottom of this?"
Right. We get our first night at the pub, and a couple of things happen at the pub, right? So, full strength of mid, and we're out of mid. So, but he sits down, and this is our first kind of like look in at. He looks over at the pokies, which are the slot machine, like the slot machine kind of things.
Oh,
That's what we
oh,
call it.
oh! I was like, "Is
That's
that
what we
what you
call
call
them.
the rednecks?" And
No,
no,
no.
those are bogans.
The pokies are, yeah, those the slot machine sort of things. But you get a really quick shot of Scott Whitlam sitting there playing the pokies.
Yeah,
Um,
right. Again, showing us a character we don't even know yet, and I was like,
yeah,
"Okay, who is this dude?"
some great seating.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then Grant walks in with Mel, right? Grant walks in, and immediately we get some friction. Grant is Grant wants him gone. Grant's asking him why the fuck he's here. He's very, very aggressive. And Mal mistakens Aaron for his father, right?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, so Mel is Ellie's father. What is Grant? A cousin, brother?
Grant, I believe, is a cousin. Yeah,
Okay,
because he calls him Uncle Grant.
okay.
Uncle
Just
Mel.
word.
He calls him Uncle Mel. Yeah. But yeah, he says, I've been seeing your face in my dreams for fuck knows how long. And I would just love like Aaron just to respond with, it's a bit gay. It's a bit gay, man.
That's a bit homosexual, mate.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, but yeah, it's funny because like the movie like us to give Mel so much sympathy in these early moments, right? Like he's also like, you know, he's definitely going through like a little bit of an Alzheimer's stage, right? Like he's forgetting that this is the son, not the father.
Mhm.
And it turns out Mel's a piece of shit.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and it's kind of interesting. I don't even know, because Eric Bana doesn't really look a shit ton like his dad, as an
No.
older. Like they did some good casting to get an actor to look similar, but part of me wonders if he's just kind of like, no, that's the dad, and it's like, no, this is the son, and he's like, oh shit, I really don't want this guy here. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like,
definitely.
I don't want the guy who took basically the blame for my crime back in town investigate. Oh, and you're a federal police officer.
Right.
Wonderful. Please come have a beer in my establishment.
Well, I love, Redbeard the pirate stepping in and being like, well, that's the thing about public
Yeah,
bars,
fuck you, you
Grant.
racist. No, I'm just kidding.
Anyone can drink here, and that includes him and you.
No, let me tell. Right before we record this, Zoho goes, there's a guy in this movie that you remind me of, and I was like, oh, you mean Gimli on fucking like GHB, like or HGH? Yeah, GHB. That's like the date rape joke. I was talking about human growth hormone. I can see it though. I can see it.
That's so funny. But he's a nice guy. He's fucking hilarious.
Yeah. Hey, go on TripAdvisor, leave us a 5-star review. Yeah. It's like, yeah. I like it.
I love it. We need more Australian Colin on this podcast, by the way.
I haven't really busted out Australian Colin in a long time, mate.
No one in this movie sounds like that. What the
I know. Well, it's been so long since I've done the fucking accent, It's like you start big, but then you kind of bring it back a little bit,
Well, I love Eric Bana's accent in this movie. Like, I'm gonna try and do it. How you going?
Yeah. He's like Clint Eastwood.
How you going? How you going? Yeah, you can. I'm not sure if you can tell, but can you hear different Australian sort of like accents or?
Oh God, yeah. You and I mean Vela was way more Cockney. Like had the really big kind of vowels when they say stuff, But it was these real big like versus someone like. I think the woman. I'm sorry. What is the woman's name? Is it
Gretchen?
Gretchen. I was going to say Gwendolyn. Gretchen and Aaron definitely have a different kind of like. It's more soft spoken.
Yeah.
But yeah, when somebody has like a harsher, like something that sounds closer to British or an American, just flat like accent, I do kind of. I can definitely pick up on it, but it's usually got to be pretty severe.
I think the guy that plays Grant has a more of a country sort of slang, like twang to his but anyway, so Aaron's trying to get some sleep, and like you hear some shouting, like people actually come to his room, like fucking liar, you're a killer and a fucking liar. This is a wild like
fucking rocking up on a federal cop
on a federal
like, get out of this fucking town. Don't. He just fucking unloads through the door.
Dude, insane. Hey, but then we get a shot of Aaron the next day arriving to the police station. It's not really much of a station because it's one guy. But yeah, he's saying, look, I'm gonna be taking some additional personal leave. There's some stuff that I have to do here, right? Like just explaining like why he's not going to go back to Melbourne. And we meet
Deputy Fife.
Greg, I believe his name is. Greg.
Love him in Wedding Crashers. He's really funny in Wedding Crashers.
Yeah, he was in something else. What else was he in? Oh, very recently. Last year. He was in Michael Bay's movie Ambulance. He was actually really good in that too.
Oh, cool, nice. Yeah, he reminds me a bit of the monk from like Van Helsing, like that kind of like sidekicky kind of like character.
I'm pretty sure we also called that guy Barney Fife in that movie when we
fucking probably.
Oh, dude. He is awesome in this movie, man. This guy is great.
Yeah, and I like the fact that he's just not a total pushover. This at some point he does kind of like, no, you might be a Fed and I might just be a local, but I do still have a job to do. And I was like, good for you, man. Like he does kind of seem like a pushover at first, but later on, I definitely had a lot of respect for him. He took a lot more damage than Eric Bana did for sure. Like,
Dude.
I honestly 1,000% thought he was going to die in this. And it's like, oh, somewhat recently wed husband who's about to be a father. Like, yeah, this guy's going to get killed. And I was very surprised when he didn't.
I was very happy that he didn't. But I'll tell you the
Mhm.
moment that he earned my respect, and it was very early on. It's when they're doing like the walkthrough of the house, and they look at the door, and he says, "I don't know. Does your missus greet you at the door when you come home from work?" I was like, okay,
Yeah.
I buy that. That is a very fair question, because how often? I mean, wouldn't you have the house keys when you come home from work? Why would your partner be greeting you at the door? Like, it
Right.
doesn't make
Right.
much sense. It
hmm
it just doesn't.
And the whole eight
Um,
steps thing. Yeah. He's got a
Absolutely.
good intuition.
Yeah, he's got a great eye for detail. He's like, it's been bugging me a bit. But he can see that he's visibly shaken. This is the first time he's been a first responder, right? Which is what Aaron. I actually really really love this. I love Aaron offering him some condolence here, like, just in terms of like, have you done the training? Have you done the sessions? Um, which I really really like, but like it obviously doesn't help him, right? Because as we find out
hmm
from his wife later, that he just doesn't sleep properly. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's a lot to deal with, because you also have to remember that this is a small town. How often does this guy see something like this? This is the equivalent of Simon Pegg being moved out to fucking Sanford, Gloucestershire in Hot Fuzz.
Yeah, right. Well, and seeing your first time seeing it is a triple or no, it's a double murder and a suicide of people that live in your own town is like, whew, that's a pretty big uh that's a pretty big cup of tea, for your first go around. That's a lot going on. And I think he, for the most part, he handles it well. Again, I like the fact like he walks in and she's talking about, oh, he hasn't slept, and he's like, hey, not cool. And it's like,
Yes,
cool. I
awesome.
dig that. Like this guy would 100% be a sheriff one day. Like he's got a good head on his shoulders. I
I
like him
like
a
him a
lot.
lot. I
Which
like
is
him a
why
lot.
I was like, this guy does nothing wrong. He hasn't done anything that's bothered me. He's going to fucking be, tasting his own spinal fluid by the end of this thing or something
It's
awful,
tough. It's tough, man. But yeah, Aaron then goes to the school to try and see if there's any clues as to where Karen worked. And we meet officially for the first time, um, our guy Scott Whitlam. Right? What did you think of Scott? He's kind of like disheveled look. Like, do
hmm
you did you think he was a little suspect or?
Well, at first I didn't really understand his relationship with Aaron with Eric Bana, and I was like, wait, so is this a friend from high school? And then I figured, oh, okay, no, this is a guy from outside he's an outsider. And what I think is interesting is almost every other character in this is somebody born and raised in this town. The moms, the dads, the barkeep, everybody is pretty much born and raised here. And for this guy to be an outsider, and he lives like he has that house way on the outside of town, but it's
Yes.
super modern. And I was like, okay, something is interesting about this guy, and he rides the bike everywhere, but they portray him as pretty harmless, and it disarms you very quickly as to what his like true motives are. But I'll be fair, not a shit ton of evidence in the whole movie to ever be like, oh, it's that guy. You know what I mean? Like there's very little that ever pops up that's like, I think they kind of show what some banking slips like earlier on in the movie with like what the school was doing, and then they show him in front of the slot machine and he talks about his wife, that robbery or whatever. But there's not a lot of evidence I feel like that like definitively like when he
Right.
finds the
Right.
shotgun shells with Gretchen, like that's a hell of a lot more incriminating than anything he finds on Scott though. Scott, is it Scott?
Yeah, Scott. Yeah.
Scott.
I think, yeah, I'm 100% in agreement with you because, and we'll get to it later, but when Aaron decides to break into Gretchen's house to steal the forms, it seems a
Yeah.
little out of nowhere. Like, it
Yeah.
seems a little like he kind of has like a bit of a what's the word? Um, epiphany.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, where'd that come from? Like, like I don't know. I don't know
Mhm.
if it's one of those things where because he thinks about it in bed, right? Like he gets up out of bed and then goes. So I don't know if it's one of those things of like, how you have like your best ideas in the shower or something like that. Or
Right.
just like, oh.
Right.
But turning back to Scott, he does say here in his first conversations, everyone here is worried about money.
Mm.
That's what like there is some little hints in the dialogue that they give Scott, which is really interesting. Plus his also kind of over eagerness to help Aaron a little bit, like
Mm.
come
Yeah.
over to my place. We'll get the car all fixed up. Like like it's
That's kind of why I thought that, okay, this guy, they must be friends, but it didn't really hit me until later on. And I was like, oh no, they basically just met. The only thing that really struck me as odd on the first watch is when he goes, yeah, why don't you come back and do like a careers day here? And it's like, why would you want the cop who's investigating the murder of one of your students to come back? Like, nobody wants to be reminded of that. It just felt weird. It felt, why would you keep him close to you unless you needed, you wanted to be sure of the information he had?
close to the
Um,
investigation. Yeah.
right, 100%.
Unless he's like banking on the idea of like, oh, maybe he's not here investigating really, like because he doesn't have that much jurisdiction here.
Hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, so Aaron talks to Gretchen. They reminisce about when they were in the classroom together, which is kind of adorable. She says something that really kind of like triggered both Steph and I. They talk about this teacher, Miss Massey, and Gretchen goes, "Yeah, she took away my recorder." Did you guys ever have to play the recorder in primary school?
I did not, but I know a lot of people that did.
We pretty much all had to do it. It was so like now thinking back on it, it was so like must have been so annoying for our parents to have to hear
Oh
all that
yeah.
shit, dude. Like, it really triggered me. Like, to like, yeah, it's so funny. It's such a it's such a moment, a moment in your childhood. Um, but then we get this flashback again with Ellie and Aaron, and like they're up on this like sort of like tree, sort of like rock formation. She says, I come up here to get away from everything, right? So she is dealing with something. She's tortured. There's something here that she's dealing with. By the way, this actress is, gosh, I'm
Oh
sorry.
yeah, 100%.
I looked her
I
up. She was 25 at the time of filming. So,
No, yeah, because I kind of felt like a creep as well. I was like, oh god, she's supposed to be in like high school, and then I looked her. I was like, oh, she's like 25 or 26 when they're filming
yeah,
this.
yeah.
But yeah, I think there's a part of she is definitely an attractive actor, but at the same time, there's this
She can act.
cool,
She
yeah,
can really act as well.
there's a cool like mysteriousness to her, almost like, I don't know, like Eddie from Stranger Things 4, like that weird kind of like, this kid's got problems but they're cool and they've got stuff going on at home, and blah blah
He's like
blah.
withdrawn, like he doesn't give out a lot of information, but he also doesn't belong with the group, right? So
Right.
like when they're like kind of doing that wrestling later and she's like like going off at them, like she is not the part that belongs. But we'll
Hmm.
get to that flashback because there is something else that I want to mention about that particular flashback. But we'll get to that one. In this one, um, Ellie and Aaron hook up, right? Like they get to smooching,
Hmm.
which
Yeah.
which might give us some motivation towards Luke killing her.
They got to
Because
like jealousy.
yeah, because well later, when she gives when Aaron gives her the note, you get a shot of Luke looking
Yeah.
really,
Yeah,
you
he's
know,
giving him the fuck
giving
off eyes.
the old peepers. Yeah.
Hmm.
Then we go out to this sort of like dried lake where Luke's body was found. The only really problem that I have with Luke's death is that in the recreation, when we do find out that it is Scott who murdered Luke, Scott uses a rock to essentially
Yeah.
take Luke out. Like,
There's like blunt force trauma there, my guy.
That's what I'm saying. So that can't be self-inflicted unless they're saying that it was, that there was a struggle with Karen. I don't know.
Yeah, that is kind of strange.
Sorry.
That was all our money, Karen. I did have a question really quick because like I know that. So who is dating who in here? It's Gretchen is dating Lucas when they were young, right? Or Luke.
This is a question that I had as well. So, I believe Ellie is dating Luke at this point.
See, I don't know because I didn't. Maybe I must have missed it. But were they fooling around or something? I didn't really catch anything.
Well, I thought Ellie was dating Luke because you also see them kind of like swimming together and stuff, right? And like he's kind of like fake drowning her or whatever. Or they might not even be dating at all. Like all of these guys are all just sort of like friends, and Luke has feelings for Ellie. Like like that.
I thought that Luke was definitely dating Gretchen in the younger days, because I think that is also a big reason why he ends up being the father of her son later on.
That might be the case, because the point that I wanted to talk about before that comes up in a flashback was when Ellie does walk off and Luke confronts her, right? Luke says, you're weird now, you don't drink anymore, blah blah. Like that's a weird thing to say to your girlfriend. So maybe, maybe
right.
Maybe they're not.
Well, it also could be a thing of like, he was fooling around with Ellie and he was like, you're not fucking telling, and just drowns her, like, no, you're not going to tell like Gretchen and blah, blah. It could be motivation to kill her when he was younger.
Right. Yeah, that's possible as well. But then Aaron starts to think about that maybe this was land motivated. Like you've got the three farms next to each other, and now that Luke's out of the picture, the farms, like the it might be up for grabs. Something's probably happening here. Mel Deakins and then Grant's one as well, Grant Dow's. So yeah, this is interesting. And then we get to Jamie Sullivan, right? Jamie Sullivan came into the station. He was with Luke the afternoon he died. He was shooting rabbits. And that gets Aaron's attention, right?
Yeah, that immediately got my attention as well. I was like, where have I heard that before?
Right, exactly. So we go over to Sullivan's place to check out what's happening. And Sullivan looks suspect, right? We obviously know why he's looking a little shifty, right? Because he's obviously in a homosexual relationship that he doesn't want to come out. And he did lie to the police as to his whereabouts. So he's thinking that maybe is the reason they're here. Maybe that's about to kind of unravel. Sullivan's grandmother, by the way, like she's like, oh, I wish, I keep telling him to shoot me, but he won't do it. I was like,
Jesus,
what?
I wish God would take me now. Oh, poor you.
Now I don't like that kind of talk. Who's that standing over there? Is that Conchetta? No, Ma. That's your granddaughter.
Anyway.
But yeah, so do we already know at this point about the shotgun shells? I'm pretty sure we do. I'm pretty sure.
Yes, because we checked out Lucas's body.
Yes. And
they even asked Jamie about the ammo. That's right.
That's right. They asked Jamie Sullivan about do you love how long was he here for? Oh, maybe 2 beers.
Yeah.
Like that's like we measure time in beers. We don't measure it in minutes.
So he was here for 4 minutes.
Right. um, so Aaron specifically asked him, "Did you go out after Luke?" And he says, "No, I stayed here, had a cup of tea with Gran," which is a lie,
Yeah.
right?
Okay. Huh.
Sure. But yeah, he shot another rabbit, and then he went home and he shot the kid and the wife, and it was like,
Jesus.
oh man, Jesus Christ.
That's a guy who wants this book closed now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We get this quick moment with the what is this guy? This surgeon, I guess. He's like a surgeon.
He's like the town doc, I think.
The town doc. Yeah.
It's a Dr. Lee, I think.
Yeah. The other part of the relationship, right?
Right. Yeah. The secret, the broke back, putting the broke back in this mountain,
Right, exactly. Chris Lee.
Call it dry back.
Chris Lee. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch the movie Due Date?
Yeah, a long time ago.
There's a moment in that when, because it's Zach Galifianakis and Robert Downey Jr., right? And there's a moment where Downey Jr. picks up Jamie Foxx. Jamie Foxx is driving them along. And Downey Jr. is talking about the weird shit that, like, Zach Galifianakis does. And he's like, yeah, like, I would just wake up and he's, like, cranking it. And then, like, Jamie Foxx is like, what? Just like that? No lotion. It's like, the no lotion.
I haven't seen that movie in forever.
I think it's funnier than people, give it credit for. But it got ripped apart for being a poor man's planes, trains, and automobiles.
You literally took the words out of my mouth.
Yeah.
But it's like, I mean, it's not,
it's still pretty funny. It's still pretty funny. I like Downey Jr. in that kind of role, so yeah.
Yeah, two guys you'll never see work together in a movie ever again, probably.
No, does Galifianakis even work? I don't even know what he does now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think he still does stand up and stuff. But anyway.
But very interestingly, we get some. Aaron tries to get some information out of Dr. Lee, right? He's trying to get to the fact that whether Karen was possibly beat up, whether Luke was harming her. I love Dr. Lee just straight up being like, dude, I can't give you that.
Yeah.
I can't give you that, so stop poking. He's like, oh yeah, it's worth a try.
Yeah. Can't blame a guy. I like this. Just this is a guy who has two scenes in this whole movie, but it's like again, everybody is suspect. Nobody is 100% clean. It's like this very well at this point. It's like, yeah, this guy could have killed everybody. Who fucking knows? Like, what is your motivation? Where's this guy's angle?
Absolutely. And you're not here in the AFP capacity. That's another thing you got to keep in mind.
Mm-hmm.
We get another interaction with my favorite character in the movie, Redbeard the pirate. Like, say, hey mate, you mind if I stay another day? And he's like, nah mate, we're overrun, inundated, swamped.
Yeah, he provides those great moments of comedic.
He's such a great presence, dude. He's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
We get this little date between Gretchen and Aaron. It's a nice little chat. These two are great actors together. So whenever you see two great Australian actors, you're just like, all right, man, like this is awesome. Let's do it. All you need is dialogue. That's it. But he asks her whether Luke did it. And she says, beyond a shadow of the doubt. And she says, what did she say? Common things occur commonly.
Yeah.
Which is a great line, by the way. I really like that.
Yeah, well, then I'm like, is she saying that, like, oh, well, that it's not rare that this happened? Because for this town, it definitely seems like it's pretty rare, So I think maybe it's like, which way am I taking it? Is she saying, well, yeah, I mean, shit happens, or is she saying like, yeah, that's kind of weird to be happening for here? It's like it's a little ambiguous,
right? Aaron asked whether he was ever violent with her, and I think that kind of like really sort of seals the deal, right? Because why would Aaron ask that if Luke and Gretchen weren't in a relationship? So yeah, they were in a relationship for sure.
Yeah, right. Duh.
Um,
No, I'm just kidding. That's what I'm saying. There's a lot of like the movie doesn't really go like, oh, here, I got you flowers. It's Valentine's Day
sure,
because we're
yeah,
boyfriend and girl. It's a lot of stuff. It's just kind of like thrown up. And if you catch it, you catch it. I like that though. Keeps you on your toes.
right. And she confirms here that they were on and off, right? And that Luke was an asshole, but he was not a killer. He was not
Mm-hmm.
that kind of guy. And then Grant shows up again. Grant's
Oh, God.
constantly antagonizing. Is that for him? Like, he just wants him gone. He wants him to fuck off, essentially.
Like Cletus, the slack jawed Yoko.
He's in his like trading gear and shit. But like, there's a moment here when Gretchen and Aaron are on this balcony and they can literally see the fires. Like, I mean, this is another thing, unfortunately, in this country that we are hard done by because fires are a constant issue for us, man. Like, I remember having to, we went up north somewhere on a trip towards like Newcastle, which is about a couple hours away. And we were going there for a friend's birthday. He's kind of like got like a little sort of like camp place booked out. And we went one summer, and the road was literally closed because of a fire. And we were like parked here on the other side of the bridge. And on the other side of the bridge, you can see the fire just raging and helicopters dumping water on this
Jesus.
raging fire. It was huge. And my friends have we say utes, you guys say pickups.
Right. Yeah.
But like they use these utes for work, right? So they're fitted with ultra high frequency equipment, so you can hear like CB radios, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you could like we tuned in and you can hear like truck drivers and stuff calling these fires out. You can hear emergency services calling these fires out and what they were doing, and it was wild, man. Like the response to these fires, they need to be quick because these fires can really spread, and as we saw in like the final scene, pretty quickly. But
right, yeah. Well, because here in the South, we for I'd say 3 or 4 months out of the year have like really bad tornadoes, and it's like, which would you rather have, the fires or the possible like tornado?
I'm gonna say tornado.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, no. I'm gonna say fires. Only because fires are somewhat preventable.
Yeah. You can't. There's no tornado extinguisher.
Right. Every winter or just before summer, the fire departments here do what's called backburning. So they do controlled burns of like dry grass or like dry shrubbery that is like susceptible to fires. So because they're burnt already, they can't catch again. That's what they do.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, good question. All right, where are we?
No, there wasn't. Anyways. No, I'm just
it was
no, it was all right.
Average. It was fine.
No, it's just because I'm terrified of tornadoes. I fucking hate tornadoes. But I think we're after Cletus the slack-jawed yokel.
Yeah. There's another scene with Barb and Jerry. But essentially, Aaron's basically confirming with Jerry that there's nothing really in the financials that is strange. Like there's nothing really on the books that is off that could have motivated the murder of Luke and his family, right? I mean,
now Jerry is Luke's dad, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay, just making sure. A lot of names thrown around.
A lot of names.
Yeah. But what do you also think about Gretchen and him possibly hooking up?
It's fine. They're both consenting adults.
Yeah, because I can take it or leave it,
But also, you are kind of like gravitate. Like, I guess after that many years, you would gravitate to someone you.
Right. Yeah, and she's very fun. This is my oldest friend, and I like the fact that they don't end up together though. That there's no like, I'm moving in here now, and I'll be a father to my friend's child. It's like, no, I'll probably call her. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. He's not calling her, dude. Like, come on, man. Like, she's a Melbourne 3. Like, come on, man.
Yeah. Well, if she's a single mom, Melbourne, it's like a 1.5.
Exactly. We get this sort of like extended flashback, right? This is the sort of like the bigger one at night when Luke kind of like plays that prank, and Luke and Aaron
Right.
kind of get into it, and then Ellie kind of like storms
It's a prank,
off,
bro.
right?
It's a prank.
Jesus Christ. She says, "You guys make me sick," right? And Luke's just like, "Dude, like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, what crawls up your ass?" Like, even Gretchen saying, "You don't drink, you don't laugh anymore." It's so funny, and I wonder if this is an Australian thing. So let me know if it isn't. But he says, "You don't even drink." Like that. That is such a. It's such a social thing here. Like, if you're a kid, if you're a late stage teenager, and you don't drink with your mates, something's wrong. Something's up.
Yeah.
Like, it's an indication of weirdness. Like, like it's out of the norm.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think, hey, I'm in the South, man. Like there's underage drinking all the fucking time, but at the same time, like for me and my friends. At
Oh,
this
right.
time,
Sorry. Also, context. The legal drinking age here is 18, not 21. So
right.
yes.
Yeah, for me, because I was such a fucking whiny little virgin in high school, that for this version of mine would be like, dude, you don't even play Halo 2 anymore, like shit like that. But yeah, I know what you mean. Like, and it kind of, I don't know. She does kind of like, I get it. Like, she's being sexually abused by her father. It's not like, but it does seem kind of random for her just to be like, you guys are fucking idiots. Like, whoa, dude, like, what do you like? What triggered that? But it's like, well, you are being sexually abused, by your, you're being incestually assaulted. So it's like, yeah, I mean, I guess you're not really looking for. It'd be different if it were like, oh yeah, that's why I fucked your dad or something like that, and that set her off. You know what I mean? Like, but it is kind of like out of like, dude, all they did was just tackle and rest around. What the fuck is wrong with you? But I guess that's kind of the point, is that it's not, doesn't really make any sense.
Yeah, exactly. She's having a overt reaction to something that's so banal. But like, yeah. So Aaron goes to return these library books that Barb found, right? And he finds something inside one of them, which is pretty much like a receipt that says on the other side Grant in handwriting, Karen's handwriting, just Grant with question mark. And then he also finds an article about him, right? So what the fuck is what Aaron is thinking right now?
Yeah. Wow. Huh. Yeah. Well, and one of the victims of your murder having your picture in a book somewhere you're hidden away is like, what the fuck?
Right. Correct. And not only that, but the person that is that has mostly been antagonizing you since you got here is named Grant, right?
Yeah. He's got that farm boy strength though, man. When they go to question him, and he's got the fucking suns out, guns out, and dude, look at his neck to his pec muscles, and it's like he would beat the shit out of both of these guys.
Oh, dude, he's got that country strength, man. Like the industry strength. Like a lot of my mates are like kind of like built like this, and I'm kind of like the pencil pusher in my friend group. So
yeah, you're the Teddy. You're the Teddy Graham in there.
Yeah, so they all play soccer, and I go watch them on Sundays. Well, I'm supposed to go today, but I don't have much time today. So, but like usually, like when they get in like a dust up on the pitch, and like they all run in together, I'm just like, what the fuck am I supposed to do, dude? Like, I use my words. I use my words, dude. This is great though, because they really try and put the screws to Grant, and he's just like he's not cracking, because there's nothing to crack really. This is a false assumption on Aaron's part that Grant is responsible in some way, shape, or form. And I also really like the fact that Grant's just like, hey, this guy shouldn't even be asking me questions. What is going on? Why is Aaron here asking me questions?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm here, basically out of my own goodwill, free will, and I don't have to sit here and be questioned by someone who, I get it, he's federal, but at the same time, like, isn't this investigation basically already opened or it's closed? Like, you can't just walk into town and open up a small town's investigation because you fucking feel like it.
It is closed, but also the way investigations work, or like the um federal and state jurisdictions work, is that federal agents can only investigate federal crimes unless they are brought in by a state
Oh, so
jurisdiction.
that's
So,
gotcha. Gomer Pyle.
yeah, yeah. So, for example, if something happened in New South Wales, it'll be New South Wales police that deals with it.
Right.
Unless something happens interstate as well, like over borders and stuff like that, then yeah, the sole jurisdiction, the sovereign jurisdiction of the states, that is really important to the way policing runs in Australia. So yeah, he is right. Like, why is the federal agent asking me questions when he doesn't have jurisdiction?
Right. Yeah. Well, especially someone who I fucking think murdered my cousin.
Yeah, and there is a point here. Like, you can tell that Grant kind of starts. He starts getting rattled a little bit because he starts like being like, "What the fuck?" Like, you're
Starts
accusing me of
lashing out.
you're accusing me of something. By the way, man, he's killing it in this scene. This actor, um,
Yeah.
he's
Yeah. He's
awesome.
selling it for sure.
You don't fucking know me.
Oof. So quit saying my fucking name like you know me. It's like, oof. That's good.
Yeah, it's awesome. But then also one real thing here that he offers up is, "Hey, where did you say you were when Ellie died? Huh? Shooting rabbits?" And then you see Greg kind of like be like, "What?
Uh
Okay,
huh. Yeah.
all right. Something's up here. Something you're not telling me."
You know what I was going to say? Did we ever even see Lucas's wife? Is it Karen? Is that her name?
Karen, yeah.
Karen. I don't even know if we actually like see her, like a couple of shots like here and there, like her loading the kid in the car. But it's
Oh
I
yeah.
just I can't
No,
really think of her face.
no, we don't really get it like a true shot of her face or anything like that. Only like in this scene where they're looking at the CCTV footage and she's putting him in the car, kind of thing. Like, we don't really,
Yeah.
yeah, we don't. They're only really like sort of like shots of her opening the door and stuff, and you know,
Yeah, I wonder if that's intentional, because you don't really see her until the end. I think that kind of makes it a little bit more like impactful.
definitely. We get this flashback of Ellie and Aaron in class. They hook up, and Ellie leaves, and just before she's about to leave, he gives her the note. Right, meet me at the river, which
Hmm.
is which is what ultimately incriminates him, right? Which ultimately leads to him being driven out of this town.
Yeah,
Um, and then we get the calf on the car. Thanks for the free veal, by the way. Appreciate that.
yeah. Thank you, boys. Oh, is this also where you find out the principal's car hasn't moved?
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Okay, sorry. I was trying to because now that I know it's him, I'm trying to like piece this
Yeah,
together again after on
yeah,
a second watch.
yeah. So the principal's car hasn't moved, but that's because he gets around by bike a lot.
Right. Yeah. So he gives her the note, kind of incriminates himself. Who puts up the flyers? Does it ever say? Is it Grant? I
No,
assume.
I don't think it's I don't think it's Grant. Um, Maybe someone in the pub. Like, I think there is just like a posse, because like the guys that rock up in those cars who are like bashing on his door earlier,
Yeah.
that's not Grant. That's just people from the town, just in general.
Right. I wondered because I was like, well, it seems like the main focal point of all that negativity is Grant. So I thought maybe I was like, well, maybe he's putting those up around town. But I like the fact that they don't just like go right into it.
No, it's just people who have like sharpened their pitchforks, kind of thing.
Gotcha.
Um, so we're brought back here into Scott's home, and Scott's wife Sandra is kind of like talking about working with Karen, and all of this, and she's obviously a bit worked up, and as soon as Scott says, "Hey, Luke and Aaron used to be friends," Sandra just kind of like goes on the offensive a little bit. She's just like, "Oh wow," just kind of gets up and just walks away. Like, all right.
Yeah, yeah. Don't fucking look at me. Your husband's a child murderer.
Right. And yeah, um, Scott goes over to apologize on her behalf, and then he starts to talk about like their life in Melbourne, right? Which kind of makes a lot more sense because he says, "Oh yeah, there was a break-in while we were living in Melbourne. Two junkies came and held me at knife point, and we had to move." And now that makes a lot more sense because obviously he owed these people money, right?
Well, I even wondered if it was like if they even came and did all that. If he was just paid like, "Hey, punch me in the face, rough me up, take the shit, and just get out," or I
Mm,
don't know. It could have just as easily actually happened, but he doesn't strike me as a guy who would, like if he planned out this like triple murder, he strikes me as a person that might plan a burglary, and be like, "Oh, I got away with it once. Why not, kind of accelerate it this time, exacerbate it, make a even more heinous crime just kind of work."
mm, I buy that. There is a quick flashback here with Aaron's father, which I love. Like, he's kind of like getting off the phone. He's asking around whether anyone's seen Aaron because he's not home yet. And in comes Aaron, his shirt's open, he's all wet. He's obviously been at the river, right? And he says they're
Mhm.
saying they found a body at the river. Aaron runs back, sees that they're fishing Ellie's body out of the river, and yeah, it's rough. That's gonna be rough at that age, man. By the way, that's tough.
Oh god,
Um,
yeah. Yeah, to walk in on, especially a girl that you really like, that you're, like, crushing on, like, "Oh, Jesus."
100%. We get this dinner with Greg and his wife, Rita. Rita's pregnant. I love Rita, by the way. She's awesome in this.
Yeah.
Um, she seems like she wears the pants. um, But she asks Greg to go and grab the dessert, and they talk about. Have you? Okay, I'm about to probably blow your mind, because you gotta find these. Have you ever had Tim Tams?
I have not.
Okay, she says he's been having a packet of Tim Tams every night before bed. Um, Tim Tams are incredible, by the way. You need to find a
Okay.
store that sells them. Go find like a store that sells like international foods or whatever. Tim Tams
Mhm,
are
mhm.
yeah, they're Australian made. They're just biscuits, like sorry, not like not
Cookies.
yeah, kind of thing, but like they're coated
Yeah.
in like chocolate, and they're like
Like a
yeah,
wafer.
sure. I don't know how to describe them, but they're amazing. You just need to find them. Just please, for the love of God, you'll never go back. um,
Okay.
they're
Yeah,
amazing.
we got a lot of those places around here. I'll check them out. Tim
Yep,
Tams.
Tim Tams. Yep, yep. But while he's gone, she kind of like gives Aaron the rub, right?
Yeah, yeah. She lets him know, like, "Yeah, I've looked into you a little bit."
I've looked into here, and I don't want anyone taking advantage of my man, right?
Mhm. Well, she says, I think he's developed a bit of a man crush, and I think she's getting a little territorial. She doesn't wanna walk in and this guy
No.
be fucking, 2 fingers deep in her husband's butt, like, "Listen, this town has 2 gay people. That's 2 too many." No, I'm just this town probably, "Listen, we don't need any more gay people." Um, no, yeah, I think I like what she's kind of laying down when she's saying like, "Hey, you're here for a little while and then you're gone. This is our home. This is our life. These are the people we live with." I think it's uh, good to have that kind of like, don't get wrapped up in your little revenge solving a 20-year-old murder fantasy thing.
For sure. We then get the next sort of like big flashback, which is Luke coming in through the window and asking him to pretty much cover, right, and say, "Hey, we were down at the Coonan Road. We were shooting rabbits. We were nowhere near the river, right?" Um,
Yeah.
and this is obviously just like intercut with the police officer giving Aaron's dad the note, right? The meet me at the river note. And then yeah, Aaron does exactly as asked. He says, "Hey, We were down by the river. Sorry, we were not down by the river. We were shooting rabbits by the Curran Road. I was with Luke Adler, right? So the lie, as it is. We get this like moment at the pub. Sorry, this sort of like punch up. It's obviously a property dispute. It's not really that important, but
I wondered what the fuck this was about. So
yeah,
like, okay, whatever.
So all these three, so these two guys own land next to each other,
Right.
and there's just like some kind of dispute about the property. That's all I really understood. But Aaron takes Jamie to the surgeon, right? Who I guess lives at the office.
Yeah, I wondered about that. I was like, oh, okay.
It's very small towny kind of thing, I think.
Yeah. I mean, some of that's not I mean, Bob's Burgers, they live in an apartment above their
true.
work. So it's like, this, I mean, it'd be convenient as hell. That's for sure.
That's true. He walks out. He's got like no shoes on. I love it.
Yeah.
But like as he's like fixing up his sutures, like Jamie's like staring at him, and like Steph's just like, why is he staring at him like that? And then you get the tap on the hand, and it's like, oh, okay,
yes,
all right,
that's when it all kind of clicked for me, And I mean, such a shame you have to do that, in 2020. It's like, oh, you're a fireman, you put your life on the line for us every day. It's like, well, too bad, queer. It's like that's fucked up.
Yeah,
but also, it's like you're a fireman in Australia, they're gonna fucking kill you. In rural Australia.
Yep. Yeah. It's we don't really have middle America like like you guys do, but they are a little bit more conservative out there. Yeah, definitely.
Shocking.
I know. Shocking that the people who do not live in the cities are not more progressive. But yeah, so Dr. Lee says, no, okay, look, he did lie to you. He actually came back here. We went to bed. We had dinner. We went to bed. And that's why he lied. Dude, and I love Aaron going out and being like, mate, I don't care who you sleep with. I just don't give a fuck.
Right. Well, you think, if you could, I like the fact that there is this kind of duality between the two of them of like, oh, you've been carrying a secret since, childhood. I think that's very
and that's what he says. He says, when you've been lying for so long, that's all you kind of really know, right? You really get used to it.
Right. Yeah. And watching this the first time, I'm like, man, maybe he did actually really kill this girl, but it was like an accident. Like, there's no way at the end of this movie, Eric Bana's like, you fucking bitch, like drowning her in there's no way that the movie ends like that. I thought maybe there was an accident or they got drunk or something stupid happened. But the fact that, that they're really, he's lying, but he's not lying because he did it. It's just, that's so good. It's that little line in the middle of it. It's like a white lie that I kind of love. He's lying, but if really to save his fucking skin.
It's really strong writing. Like when you're able to find like a parallel like this without it being overly obvious. I really dig it.
Right.
There's this sort of like more extended flashback now. This is when we get the, I guess calves are just the ways that we,
yeah.
Like Godfather.
Yeah, we've been eating for like kings.
I know. But yeah, they're essentially being driven out of town. By the way, Aaron's dad has a kind of Wolverine mutton chop thing going on.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
I dig it, man. He's like Carl Urban and Eric Bana had a baby.
Oh, I like it. But yeah, so Aaron's forced to say goodbye to Gretchen, and I like this, man. Like I like the it's kind of intercut between this moment with Aaron and Mel current day at the cemetery, but I'm just gonna talk about the flashback still. Man, like when he's driving him out of town, and I love the dad just getting out of his car, and you can just hear like they were friends, like it's great performance, man.
Yeah, well, and him bold-faced lying to, and his dad just utterly not buying it is heartbreaking. Just the fact that his dad, I assume his dad has probably passed away, and I mean, not that they ever confirmed that, but it's like your father going to his grave thinking you murdered somebody, like that's fucking awful.
Yeah. But the scene the scene with Mal and Aaron is kind of telling, right? Like, your dad, he wouldn't have fallen for that story you and the Hadler kick cooked up. And then like Aaron goes, "Why is it you've always been convinced that Luke and I weren't together, Mal? What do
Mm-hmm.
you know?" Which is really cool.
Right. Yeah. Well, and I do kind of like, how does he know that? Like, he murdered her, obviously, but like, how does he know that the two of them weren't really together? that's what I've never really, is he just pushing that narrative so hard to take suspicion off of him? Like,
Quite possibly.
what does he know about where Aaron really was, is what I want to know. But I don't think he knows shit. I think he's just trying to take.
It might have been the note, right? I mean, the note said he might think that Aaron was down by the river.
Hell, he might have seen him because Ellie comes down there, and then her dad. Well,
Sure.
no, I think he was already gone. I think he really is he's trying to throw so much shade at that guy. Yeah, just to push it off of him.
But yeah, we get to this scene with Gretchen shooting this rifle, and I apologize.
Different side.
Yeah, different side, and now we're kind of like shifting the lens a little bit, right? We're seeing the slugs in the bag. We're seeing her how good she is with this rifle. By the way, her efficiency.
That says shotgun, Zoe.
Oh, sorry, my bad. But look at the range of that shotgun, though. I mean,
I did kind of like, what? Like, how are you shooting a fucking shotgun from that far away, like a double barrel? Yeah, but whatever, whatever.
That's what confused me. I was like, what? But this is a shotgun, right?
Yeah. Well, I noticed the second it showed her loading the shells into the shotgun, I noticed the blue shells. I was like,
blue shells. Yeah.
And like, they didn't even have to cut to the bag. I was like, if they don't cut to that bag, that's like, if they cut and show it to me, I know it's probably going to be like, ooh, what is that? I'm like, no, you're not going to deceive me. But it's like, but if they don't cut to that bag, then I know that this is probably her. And they cut to the bag, and I was like, all right, I know it.
Yeah. There's this moment back at Gretchen's place. The kid is out at a sleepover, and Gretchen goes to show Aaron the album, right? I mean, all of our families have these albums. I don't think it's just an Australian thing, but it kind of like threw me back because I'm just like, yeah, we used to look at these albums, like you slide the little photos in under the little plastic sheet to keep them in place.
Yeah, but, we were never fancy enough for the albums. We just had them loosely sitting in a drawer somewhere, or in like a manila envelope.
Goddamn trailer trash. Anyway, I'm kidding. And then Aaron sees a photo, right? He sees the hospital band that you get from being admitted to hospital, and yeah, and then he pieces 2 and 2 together, and he's like, "Whoa." Hold up.
Yeah. That was actually a pretty big twist that I didn't really, because you start seeing more and more pictures of her and Luke together, and then all of a sudden here's this baby with the tag, and then a picture of him right there in the middle, and I was like, well, come on, like what else are they hinting at here? But yeah, I that is not a twist that I saw coming, and again, just totally changed her kind of dynamic in all of this, and her MO, or I'm sorry, her motive in all of this is definitely changed now. It's like, ooh,
well, absolutely, because Luke says here, Aaron says here, I hope for Lockie's sake that you lying about your relationship, your relationship with Luke is the worst thing you've done to that family, and that was like.
Yikes!
Damn.
Yeah,
I actually love her reaction.
Pretty rough.
She like does this thing, and she looks down, and she's like, "Get out!" She's like, like, "Get the fuck out of my house, man."
Yeah, her reaction is genuine, and like she goes like, and goes to blow up, and it all just like deflates immediately. I love that.
But we are fast moving towards our finale, right? Because Luke heads back to the pub, and who does he find there? He finds Sandra looking for looking for Scott, right? Like, she
Yeah.
says, I think it's all getting a bit much for him. Like, she's wondering, right? She's like, what the fuck's going on? She says, sometimes I think I see people outside the house, and then like the Grim Reaper himself, Scott walks in from the side room. It's like, oh, Sandra, there you are. Like, like in the most like suspicious way, you know? Uh,
Yeah, well, it's the tale as old as the wife coming down to the bar to be like, "Hey, it's time to come home," like because he's over there just gambling the fucking money away on a guy's an addict. This is the small game that he plays. Can't imagine how much more money he's actually like losing gambling big time and shit.
right. And who's waiting for Aaron outside his hotel room? Um, fucking Greg, right? Mal says that you assaulted him at the cemetery, and why did you not tell me about the connection to Ellie? Like, I feel like I'm being taken advantage of here, um, which is fair. Aaron goes to take a shower. It's that fucking shitty country ass town water, and
Why do
Jesus.
you think the dad lied about the assault? With just trying to make Aaron look like a violent person, I guess.
Yeah, I think he's just trying to take any kind of attention away from Ellie's murder.
Yeah. Well, and I also don't want to go past the fact when he's talking to Greg and he goes, "There's a connection between these two cases," and it's like, yeah, I mean, it's you basically, but that's it.
Right.
Like Ellie doesn't have anything to do with this thing with Scott murdering these people. He has really nothing to do with that, and it's like you want there to be a connection because if you can solve one, you can solve the other and clear your name, but also like clear your friend's name and blah blah blah, and it's just not there. Like he's grasping at straws.
Right, absolutely. But then like this is the moment that I kind of have the most issue with, and like it's Aaron having this epiphany in bed, right? Like he realizes something. He must be like piecing two and two together because he goes back to Gretchen's place the next day, looks at her kind of like desk again, which by the way Gretchen did mention, oh yeah, these are applications for funding. Karen was working on these, blah blah blah. So he goes back and kind of like essentially breaks in and takes one of them, right?
Yeah, again, that was my only thing is kind of like, man, it seems like there's a little bit, that's a hell of a hunch, like, and what kind of evidence would point towards Scott in the first place? Like, I just don't see a lot of like there's red herrings, and I feel like they're obviously, they're diverting away from Scott. They're trying to get you to look at Gretchen. They're trying to get you to look at, these other people in the town, Jamie, like maybe they've done it. But really, it's like there's not ever that moment of Scott where you go, maybe it is him. You know what I mean? Like there's a few moments where he's a little too friendly, but not nearly like you don't feel nearly as guilty about Scott as you do about Gretchen at this point. Like at this point, I was like, man, maybe she really fucking did.
Hmm.
I feel like there's not enough grease to turn that corner smoothly. We turn it, but it's just kind of like it's a little rough.
It's a little jagged. Yeah, it's a little jagged. But yeah, Aaron rushes over to Greg's house. He says, "Mate, it's not Grant the person; it's a grant, as in funding, right?" So they get together. They head over to the school, and yeah, like they're on the phone to the I guess the agency
The f-
that's the funding agency, or like the funder, and they're like, yeah,
mhm.
we deposited some money in there 2 days ago. Like this was not, this was not cancelled or anything like that. There was money deposited, $70,000. Um,
All
dude,
this over 70 grand.
yeah, I know. Hey, I love Scott's reaction to, yeah, hey, the funder's on the phone. They want to speak to you urgently. He's just like,
Oh,
oh shit, like
it's great. The jig is up.
Absolutely, the jig is up. He goes to the classroom, looks through the window to check on his daughter. He considers trying to pull her out, but he doesn't. And then he starts to head towards the exit and he sees the police car pull up, right? And then what does he do? He goes to the back shed, grabs a petrol can, and takes off into the bush. Aaron and Greg are in chase. Give chase, and they find him out in the bush. Right. He's essentially about to immolate himself. He's dumping fuel everywhere. And he kind of does, right? Like he drops the Zippo, he drops the lighter, and this is awesome. By the way, I don't think I've seen an Australian film shot quite like this as well. With the very high frame rate, slow motion, the effect looks really legitimate. Like it doesn't. This looks like an actual stuntman they lit on fire here. To be honest,
yeah, it doesn't look bad. It doesn't look bad at all. I guess like, and the way I'm trying to piece this together is, I guess he is embezzling money from the school to pay off the loan sharks and stuff,
the debt. Yeah.
And I assume Luke and his family found out, and that's why he murdered him.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, just making sure. I was
Karen found out.
Right. Okay. Gotcha. Why not just murder her? Anyways, whatever. But yeah, I thought this was done really well. And the fact that it's not just, if this guy were out in a parking lot somewhere, fucking let him light himself up. Who cares? But it's like, we can't have this guy be the match that burns our holes.
School. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think metaphorically too, it's like, if we let this guy do this, it's literally and like metaphorically going to destroy our town.
Yep. Definitely. Yeah, this is sad, man. Like the whole flashback is really well done, I think. The music is fantastic. It's Peter Rayburn is the composer. I don't know what else he's done, but I think the music in this is really solid. Oh, you know what he did? Oh wow, he's done a bunch of shit. He did Under the Skin, which is that Jonathan Glazer, Scarlett Johansson movie.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
He did Sexy Beast, which is a old school gangster movie. But anyway, yeah, good movie. Good moment. We got him. Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Yeah.
But yeah, Aaron's okay. So I don't really buy that they patted this guy down, and they put the flames out.
Oh yeah, I mean it's a bit much. I mean, I guess
because they got the accelerant as well. I don't know if I buy that.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's a little weird. The only thing that I kind of buy is that he lights himself up and then he runs so far away from that gas.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't like light himself up and then just drop on the ground and roll around. Like he starts running and he runs away from the gasoline. I'm like, okay, yeah, like it's a little bit better, but I mean, it definitely seems like Greg got the brunt of it,
Dude.
Like his whole face. He's like rickety.
They got to transfer him to Melbourne. Like they can't even deal with him here in this hospital because his burns are that bad.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and it's like he's gonna, hopefully be okay. But it's like you're looking at skin grafts, physical therapy, a lot of shit for like the rest of your life. To save a guy, basically to save a guy who was threatening your whole town is like, fuck, that's crazy.
Definitely. So Aaron's leaving town. Where you go on the old TripAdvisor and leave me a good review. 5 stars all the way, mate.
Great line.
And outside is Gretchen, who pretty much tells Aaron the truth, right? Luke was with me that night. It couldn't have been Luke.
Right, yeah, and basically, I think I love that because it's basically, the fact that she has all the reason in the world to think, hey, this guy probably murdered my friend. Like, I know he lied about where he was, but she never does that. She never even questions the fact that it's him. And in fact, she has dinner with him, like she's friendly towards him. And the second he thinks she might have something to do with the other friend's murder, then he's like, oh, what have you done to that fucking family? And it's like, whoa.
I didn't even consider that. That's a good point. Yeah.
I really dig the fact that she was like, I love and trust this guy enough that I know he didn't do this. And I don't know, maybe Lucas was like, he didn't do it. Trust me. I know he didn't do it. Like, I don't know. But it's like where everybody's I feel like at the beginning of this movie, we're all looking at Lucas going, I think he murdered that motherfucker, is really how everybody in town is looking at Aaron, because two of his friends know he was fucking lying about where he was, and the third one's dead. That's a bit suspicious.
That's a good point. Aaron goes up to that rock formation to lay some flowers, and he finds Ellie's backpack, right? Which
Jesus, so sad.
Which she stowed up there, knowing that Aaron would find it up there because that's where he dropped the bracelet earlier, right? It could have been lost forever, is what he says in the earlier scene. And essentially, this backpack was lost forever. No one was looking for it. No one had any cause to look for it. But yeah, he finds a whole bunch of stuff in here. He finds all this rolled up cash. He finds her wallet, a driver's license, but then she finds her diary, right? He finds her diary, which obviously talks about her father's abuse, her mother running away, her father threatening to kill her if she does run away, if she does the same thing. Heavy, man. Heavy.
Yeah, super heavy. I do like. I don't know if I agree with she's putting the backpack there, knowing Aaron will fall. I think that she puts it there. I took it as she put it there. Just I don't want anybody to know I'm out here. Let me hide this thing real quick, and then because she was planning on running. Like, why would you hide the backpack for Aaron to find? Like, was she just waiting to die out there? Because like she has like. She said, like, she's running away. Like, why bring a bag if you're waiting to die at all?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Because she doesn't kill herself. She gets murdered. Yeah.
Right. I just think it's a coincidence that it falls down there. But it is such a great... Because, you get the feeling that, hey, had Aaron waited 15 minutes, this girl would still be alive. She would be down there with him and her dad would show up and that there'd be a better chance of her surviving rather than... her just being straight up murdered by her father to cover up the abuse and stuff. And it just, they do such a good job, of letting her, this, I think her name's like BB Butterfield or something, but I can't remember her name. The one who plays Ellie. But she does such a great job with the small amount of time that she has where she's really, captivating and you really want to know like what is going on. And when you finally figure out what is going on, it all makes sense, and you're like, oh god damn it was all fucking right there. Like acting out, she hates her father, like she has problems with intimacy with Aaron. It's like, oh my god, it's all fucking right there, man.
Yeah man. And that pretty much closes the book on Ellie's mystery for Aaron, right? And you know what I love when he's walking off with the backpack? Just this long sigh that he lets out. Like, what a load off his shoulders, knowing that your best friend didn't kill this girl. Like it's just this like 20-year mystery that you just kind of went through, and when he's walking away, it just feels like the close of this chapter.
Right. Mm-hmm. It's a bit of Beverly Marsh and it, getting away from her father at the end. Very, very much so reminded me of that.
Yeah. Also, there's a young Grant in this scene as well when Mel's going to find Ellie. Like,
yeah. Mm-hmm. Because he's at the riverbed when they bring her out in the flashbacks. But yeah, great movie, man.
That's it, man. That's The Dry. I loved this movie. I think I had a great time with this movie. When it came out, it really surprised me just how confidently it was made. It's really, really solid. Like the screenplay is fantastic. You can tell it's a novel because of all the twists and the turns and structure. And what else has this guy done? Robert Connelly. Give me a sec. He directed he directed a movie called Bellabo, which was pretty big. I believe it's got Brad Pitt in that.
I never even heard of that.
Yeah, very, very popular movie here. We actually learn about that. They teach that at uni. Movie called The Turning. Paper Planes, another big Aussie movie. But yeah, he produced The Boys. Obviously the big Amazon movie show.
I don't think that is the same Boys. Because I looked up his filmography. I think it's something else.
Oh no, that's
I'm
a movie.
not 100%
Sorry,
sure.
that's a movie.
Okay.
My bad.
No, yeah, because I was like, oh shit, good for
starring
him.
Toni Collette and David Wenham.
Oh, of course.
There you go. All right, man. Well, this was awesome. I had a great time covering this. This was thank you for indulging me with this movie because no one's heard of this movie. I'm sure you were like, what the fuck is this? But this is this is right in my wheelhouse. The murder mystery kind of movies. If there's no sexual assault in a movie, dude, I'm not interested.
Yeah, your movies are just Jesus Christ,
depressing.
Like a 2-hour SVU episode. Fuck's sakes.
Pretty much, man. But yeah, let's wrap this up. I've pretty much given my final thoughts. I really dig this movie. I think it deserves to be seen more. If this inspires anyone to go check this movie out, I'll be very happy because I think it's criminally underseen. No one talks about it. It's just a small Australian movie, but everyone should go check it out.
Yeah, I definitely echo those same sentiments. I think that it does a fantastic job. It lingers a bit in places. Sometimes it can be a little long in the tooth, but it's not the end of the world. I'm comfortable in this world, so I'm okay to take a little bit longer of a walk in it. It doesn't really bother me. An extra 10, 15, 20 minutes. I think the story can get a little convoluted sometimes, but you just really got to remember keep your characters' names straight, and you pretty much, the story is pretty self-explanatory. But like I said, there's like Karen, we don't ever even see, like the boy, we don't ever really see. We see Ellie for maybe 5 minutes, but I think that for as small as it is, they do an absolutely fantastic job. And like you said, it's criminally underrated, criminally underseen. And it definitely needs some more exposure. And I think 100% earns the 90% it has on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah,
I would
give
it a good 8. I think for myself personally, like I would say probably like an 8.5 out of 10, but not like 9 out of 10. It's like, yeah, I definitely can see if people were doing well. And if you like this movie, a darker, more surreal kind of version of this, Super Dark Times, very good movie. Actually, the boyfriend from X, the one who's filming the porno, he's the lead in Super Dark Times.
Oh, that's cool. Nice.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah.
Oh man, good recommendation. I might check that out. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for listening to us. Thank you so much for checking this episode, especially because I know that this one is like we said, not really a household name. So thank you so much for pulling the trigger and taking a chance with us on this one. Really appreciate it. We had a great time talking about this. Please remember to support the show if possible. It's only $5 a month. Head to patreon.com/Midnight Double Feature. You get 69 bonus episodes, plus a whole bunch more. We'll always be posting to that feed exclusively for members of the Green Room. So patreon.com/Midnight Double Feature. If you want to support us in any other way, please follow the show on social media or rate and review us on iTunes. That would be a very big help. We're going to head out of here, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much. We'll see you guys next time here on Midnight Double Feature.
Bye.